Hey everyone, in this episode we'll be painting a landscape environment with a fortress, and as usual we'll break down all the steps. My name is Victor, I'm a concept artist working for film and games, and I really hope you guys will enjoy this video. So let's get started. Alright, so for this type of quick sketches I usually have two approaches. I either start with a very rough Linework sketch and then I move on to color, or I do a few thumbnail exploration sketches to check some ideas, and when I have something that I like, I then refine it with a Linework on top of it. For example, this one that I used in a previous video. Today I also wanted to create an underpainting that would serve as a nice base for the whole image. So I basically took a darker value of a warm tone and I've glazed all over the image where I think that the shadows will be, because we have a direct light from the sun coming from the right. It was quite simple to establish all the shadows. This will give us quite a nice base for our painting. It will also provide a lot of color vibrancy and it will unify the whole image, because whenever I will paint on top, a lot of it will be seen through the top layers. And also it gives us a great understanding if our composition works, if our values work, and if everything is readable and clear. Now, once you have this, which is essentially a monochromatic sketch with 2 or 3 values, you can start with color, and same way as usual, establish your mood first, right? Think about your reference images, figure out what kind of lighting you have. And I already went ahead and blocked in the sky, blocked in the sea, and now I'm working on the foreground, trying to figure out what type of values I should use for the grass. And you should also keep in mind that the areas affected by the sun should probably be warmer than the ones not affected by it, or I should say affected by the sky, which is colder. So in this case, if we're following this logic, we should have the areas in the shadow slightly colder and the ones in the light warmer. And that's why I keep adding here and there some colder tones in the foreground. By using our underpainting, I'm putting down some color for the tree crown, and I'm already looking at the castle. I'm trying to figure out how to paint those walls. I've also added a little bit of red to the rooftops, and you can see that I did that just by selecting everything and using Ctrl B, move the slider towards the red. Up until now, we've been slowly refining the image by adjusting the values, by adding some depth in the background, the foreground, and so on. And now I think it's a good time to already think about some surfacing details and to add some color variation. And specifically I'm looking at these flat walls of the castle, the lit ones, that really require some more interest to them, maybe some interesting textures, maybe some additional contrast, and it would be a really good opportunity to break down these flat surfaces. And also another interesting thing that you might notice is that I'm not really happy with the composition of this tree, sort of like obscuring the end of the castle. So I figured that I should probably extend the silhouette of the castle beyond the tree in the foreground. This way it probably bother me a bit less, because it's usually not a good idea to have something overlapping like this. This way we have the castle being extended over the silhouette of the tree, and it feels a little bit better. And after I'm done with that, I'm continuing with adding surfacing information, details to the whole thing. I'm usually focusing my attention on the focal point, and I'm moving, outwards from there. By the way, don't forget there's a free link to some of my most used brushes in the description, and for those of you that want to learn more, I'm dropping the original PSD file with all the layers and the full process video tutorial together with many more tutorials on my Patreon page, so feel free to check that out. we're moving on with an overall refinement of the whole image, because we're still following the same composition that we established in the beginning with our 2 or 3 tone sketch. Now we kind of have a clear idea of how things look, how readable they are, and we're just gonna spend a bit of time on refining these areas, adding different kind of gradients, adding a little bit more interest to some of the flatter areas that for now seem a little bit boring. I'm also thinking how I can improve the design of the castle. Maybe I'll add a couple of more windows, maybe some accents here and there, just to improve the overall interest towards the focal point. Adding some sort of pathways to make this whole area around it a little bit more logical, like there is some people, some activity happening, and I'm doing it very rough with just one brush stroke. Alright, so as a final story bit right here, we will attempt to add a few rough, very simple silhouettes of some people walking towards our fortress, and you can notice right away that the way I'm doing is very rough. I'm just creating some silhouettes without references, and I'm trying to figure out what kind of values they should be, adding some color to it, trying to think of a way to make them pop a little bit. So I thought that maybe they will be, in a lit area, so that's why they'll be a little bit brighter than the environment. I'm also thinking I should probably add a few people on top of the fortress, just to kind of like complete the whole environment. And also I'm not following any structured process here. I'm just putting a few brush strokes, establishing the silhouettes, and then filling them with color and thinking about value. I'm also adding a few flags here and there, and for now I think that most of my attention will be on refining some of the surfaces, trying to clear things up a bit, like maybe make sure that the form is understandable and everything reads well. Maybe a few color adjustments, but pretty much that would be it. We are now looking at, well, actually the final stages of the image, and the rest of the thing, maybe I will sharpen some edges here and there, add a little bit of variation. Alright, so this is the final image. Thank you guys so much for watching till the end. I hope you enjoyed this video and found it helpful. If you did, please consider liking and subscribing. It helps a lot. Also, don't forget to ask any questions you have about the process in the comments. I'll gladly answer to as many as I can. Thank you again for watching, and I hope to see you in the next one, coming soon.